Mysterious letters in my husband's fishing tackle box. I never meant to read his letters. But when you've been married for 42 years and you find a stack of envelopes hidden inside your husband's old fishing tackle box, curiosity doesn't knock, it kicks the door open. The first letter began with, "I miss the way you breathe when you're asleep." And the signature wasn't mine. There's a particular kind of silence that follows a discovery like that. It isn't the soft kind, the sort that rests on your shoulders at the end of a long day. It's a heavy, buzzing hush that makes every sound too loud. My pulse in my ears, the fridge chugging, the clock that used to tick sweetly now slicing seconds like a knife. If you're listening to me right now, and you've ever found something you wish you hadn't, tell me I'm not the only one. I think it helps to know there's a crowd of us out there, squinting at the pieces of our comfortable lives under a harsh new light. I sat at the kitchen table with the envelopes lined up like tiny gravestones. Some were creased and yellowed. Some were crisp and white, the ink still stubbornly blue. Different dates, different zip codes. The name on each envelope was the same, R. No last name, just R. My husband, Ben, was down at Lake Wythe, doing what he has always done on Wednesdays, lending too much advice and not enough bait to the men who gather at the dock. If you know small-town Virginia, you know that docks are as much confessionals as they are places to tie boats. I opened the second letter. You said you liked my green scarf at Christmas. I wore it again today, and you didn't say a word. Should I take the hint? Or are you still learning how to look at me without saying everything out loud? I didn't recognize the handwriting. It was clean, practiced, feminine without being girlish. The kind of script a woman might learn in a Catholic school where the nuns check how you hold your pen. I thought of our Christmas photos. Ben in his plaid sweater, our daughter Claire and her husband on one side, our son Michael and his girls on the other. No one in a green scarf. I opened another letter, older, dated 1987. The papers smelled like mothballs and a cedar chest. The line started with jokes about the Washington snow and ended with, "I almost called your house today." I wanted to hear her pick up. I wanted to know what she sounded like, the woman you chose. My name wasn't there, but I knew whose voice that was aimed at. I should say this. We were never the fireworks kind, Ben and I. We were the good china on Sundays, the Christmas lights stored carefully and checked for broken bulbs. We were coffee at 6, her tea at 7, the paper folded to the crossword. When the kids left, the house echoed with our routines. I didn't mind the quiet. I minded the way it sometimes swallowed us whole. Evelyn? That was my neighbor Marie, from the back deck. You got a minute? My peonies are showing off. I thought you'd want to see them before the rain ruins the brag. I can't, I called back. My voice sounded normal. Not like a woman holding a bomb. Maybe tomorrow. After Marie's footsteps retreated, I opened the newest letter. It was dated 3 months ago. I saw you at the pharmacy, and I wanted to tuck my hand into the crook of your elbow like I used to. I wanted to say your name the way it once belonged only to me, but I didn't. You looked tired. We all do now. Tell me you remember the little diner by the river. Tell me you remember the waitress who always called you sir, like she was fixing a button on your shirt. Tell me this wasn't just the daydream of a girl who didn't know any better. I pressed the paper flat, smoothed it with my palm. The pharmacy was 2 blocks from the diner by the river, and the waitress, her name had been Lucille. She'd been half our age and twice as bold. She'd call everyone sir and honey, but I remembered the way she'd soften her voice for Ben, how she'd refill his coffee before he asked. I remembered because I'd been there. I used to believe you could see an affair coming the way you can smell rain on a summer afternoon. I used to think there'd be a taste to it. Metal in the mouth, electricity on the tongue. But sitting there with the letters, I couldn't find a moment when I'd missed a storm warning. There was only weather, clouds that had been forming for years, miles away, while I'd been inside folding laundry, humming. I tucked the letters back into their envelopes, slid them into a manila folder, and set it on Ben's placemat. I boiled water for tea, and when I lifted the kettle, my hands were steady. This was something I could be proud of. Later, the steadiness. Ben came home smelling like dock water and menthol. He kissed my temple on the way to the sink, like always. You wouldn't believe the base JD. Swears he almost landed. Thing looked like a rumor with fins. I waited until he dried his hands and turned. He saw the folder. What's that? He asked it gently, like I might be a spooked dog. I thought you could tell me. I opened the folder and slid the top letter toward him. The one from 3 months ago. Who is R? He blinked like I'd thrown glitter at his eyes. Something shiny and fine and hard to wash off. He didn't reach for the paper. Evie, he said. He only called me that when he wanted to love me or spare me. I braced for neither. Where did you? In the old tackle box. I said it like a line in a play. I didn't say, I was looking for spare picture hooks. I didn't say, you can hide anything in a home where women put things away and men forget where they are. He sat down. He put his hands flat on the table, like a boy at a desk in school. I should have burned them. That's the sentence you're going with. Something in me laughed, and the sound scared me. You should have burned them? He nodded, and it was terrible. The honesty of it. Yes. Who is she, Ben? He swallowed. His throat moved like it had a stone in it. Ruth, he said. Your sister. The kitchen tilted. Not dramatically. Not like a movie where things crash and the camera spins. More like a porch step you've forgotten is loose until your ankle twists. I felt the word break in my mouth. Ruth has been dead 15 years. I know. He looked at his hands. Most of the letters are old, or from before, yeah. We were stupid. Young. I was a quad. You knew I was a quad. You married me anyway. I married you because you held my father's ladder in the rain, I said. Because you remembered to bring the potato salad to every picnic. Because you loved our children like they were your first language. I stared at the envelopes. When did it start? Before you and I were engaged. He rubbed the table with his thumb like there was a stain. We thought we were in love. Maybe we were. Then you and I got serious. She went to Richmond. We stopped. Mostly. Then your mum got sick. She came back. He dragged a hand over his face. I don't have excuses you'll accept. I wanted to say, You don't have excuses I'll accept because there aren't any. But the truth sat between us like something feral, and I didn't have the energy to make it civil. Why keep the letters? Because they were proof that I wasn't making it up, he said softly. That I didn't invent how it felt. That I took something from both of you and somehow still wanted to see myself as decent. His eyes lifted to mine. I'm not. The thing about being married this long is that you have a muscle memory for forgiveness, for small harms, the forgotten anniversary, the unkind word tossed by a tired mouth. But this wasn't a small harm. This was a flood crest line running around our lives, showing us exactly how high the water had been when we weren't looking. Did she write to you after she got sick? I asked. After she knew? She wrote me once from hospice, he said. I didn't write back. I visited once. I sat in the parking lot for 2 hours, and I couldn't go in. I drove home and mowed the lawn and pretended I had a stomach bug. I thought of Ruth's funeral, the lilies, the pastor who'd used too many metaphors, the way Ben had held my hand so tightly I'd had crescent moons on my palm when we got home. I had thought, this is a good man who loves me through grief. The story you tell yourself is scaffolding. It holds up the parts that might otherwise collapse. I need air, I said, and he nodded like I'd asked him to pass the salt. I walked to the river. The diner was still there. New awning, same cracked parking lot. Same teenagers smoking behind the dumpster, trying on their futures. I stood by the water long enough for my heart to stop riding in my throat. When you get to be our age, loss is a part of the vocabulary. Friends move away, bodies betray, names dissolve on the tongue. What I wasn't prepared for was losing a version of Ease I had loved. The modest fairy tale of two decent people building a steady life. The indecency of secrets is that they rewrite the chapters you thought you'd already read. If you're still with me, and something I'm saying sounds too familiar, you can tell me in the comments how you kept breathing through a truth that stole air. Someone else might need to see your words more than you know. I didn't sleep that night. Ben didn't either. I could tell from the way our house sounded. When he's sleeping, he makes this tiny whistling noise, like air sneaking out of a balloon. The silence was too complete. In the morning, I packed a bag with 3 days' worth of clothes and drove to Claire's, and she hugged me on the porch like she had when she was 5 and had fallen off her bike. Tight, fierce, like the best apology. I told her, and then I told Michael on the phone, and the line went quiet and warm. And then he said, "Mum, I'm coming over." As if he was still 12 and a bully had shoved me on the playground. The kids were angrier than I was. There was a bright crackling to their fury. I felt something bigger and duller, like weather moving in. We talked until the words turned into tears, and eventually into oat cookies and hot tea, because that's what you do when there's nothing you can do. On the second day, Ben knocked on Claire's door. He stood on the porch with his hands in his pockets, a man who'd found himself smaller than he'd thought. He asked to come in. Michael, who had always been gentle until he wasn't, said no. I told Michael it was okay. Michael looked at me with my father's eyes and stepped back. Ben sat with us at Claire's kitchen table and told the story the same way he'd told it to me, but slower. Not to excuse, to not be the only one carrying it. He asked for forgiveness. No one gave it to him. No one said the words. He didn't beg. He didn't deserve begging. When he left, I said I wanted to go home. Claire asked if I was sure. I said no, but I wanted my own bed. We drove back, and Ben had made the house look like a man had Googled how to apologize with chores. The floors were mopped. The sheets were changed. There were 2 vases of sunflowers. The flowers I'd carried at our wedding, standing on the dining table. I stood there, tired and full of love for everything we had done right and everything we had failed at. I want to try counseling, I said. Not to erase anything, to see if there's a future that isn't acid. The word surprised me. It fit. Ben nodded, relief and something like fear crossing his face. I'll go wherever you tell me. I'm not telling you, I said. I'm inviting you. We sat on Deepat Patel's couch 3 days later. She had soft hands and a way of being quiet that made you talk. We drew timelines on yellow legal pads. The year Ruth came home, the year my mother died. The summer Ben's father moved in with us and filled the house with sleep apnea and war stories. We put pins in the places where we had chosen each other and the places where we hadn't. We said things out loud that didn't sound like us, and somehow still were. The letters sat in the manila folder in the middle of Dr. Patel's coffee table like another participant. Do you want to read them together? She asked. I shook my head. I want him to read mine. I hadn't written them yet, but I could feel them pressing against my ribs, impatient. That night, I sat at the kitchen table Ben had sanded and varnished the summer Claire left for college. I wrote 10 letters. I numbered them. I dated them with the days I wished I'd said the things inside them. I wrote about the day Ruth told me she was moving to Richmond. How excited I'd been for her. How I'd cried in the shower with the water running cold because change is so often a luxury that still costs. I wrote about the night Ben came home late from the dealership with his tie crooked and his hair smelling like a woman's perfume I didn't own, and how I had chosen to believe his story about a customer's hug because I was tired and the kids had homework and the chicken was burning. I wrote about the last 10 years, the forgettings, the quiet habits that had replaced touch, the way we'd grown so careful with each other. I'd sometimes wondered if we were made of thin glass. I wrote a letter to Ruth too. I told her I loved her and hated her, and that if she were here, I'd make her tea and then possibly pour it on her shoes. I told her I wished she'd chosen me, sister over secret. I told her I knew there's no such thing as a clean crime when it comes to hearts. There's only the mess you decide you can live with. In Dr. Patel's office, Ben read the letters out loud. His voice broke on the one about the perfume. He put his hand over his face on the one to Ruth. He read every word. He didn't try to fix a single sentence. I watched him carry each piece of what I had handed him like he understood the weight, like he was willing to let it bruise him. Healing didn't come like a sunrise. It came like winter giving up, slow, muddy, full of days where the sky looked like an apology it couldn't keep. We held hands at the end of sessions. We argued about old stories we'd told ourselves and tried to tell better ones. Sometimes we slept back to back. Sometimes we found our way to the middle of the bed. Forgiveness, when it did arrive, didn't feel like a grand religious moment. It felt like sitting on the porch together, watching birds tap at the feeder. and realizing you hadn't thought about the letters in an hour. It felt like making coffee and pouring his without asking how he wanted it because you remembered. It felt like a truce that had learned to grow a garden. One Sunday, after church, I brought the manila folder to the river. The diner's new awning flapped in the wind. The teenagers were gone. The water moved like it always does, forward. I took the letters out and read one more line, the one that had given me the most trouble. I wanted to say your name the way it once belonged only to me. I whispered Ben's name into the wind and realized something important. Names don't belong to people. They belong to time. Time decides who we are when we say them. I had planned to burn the letters. I didn't. I tucked them back into the folder and slid them into the church's donation box, marked for confidential pastoral care. I didn't need to make a spectacle. I needed a place that knew what to do with things like this. Sacred and foolish and heavy. When I got home, Ben was fixing the back gate that had been dragging for years. He looked up, screwdriver in hand, an old dog trying a new trick. "Supper?" he asked. "Let's go to the diner," I said. We went. Lucille was gone, of course. A young man took our order, all elbows and kindness. We shared pie. We talked about the grandkids. We talked about replacing the storm windows. We talked about how the hydrangeas had finally taken to the soil. We didn't talk about Ruth. We didn't need to, not that day. If you've stayed with me this long, I hope you'll share this with someone who might need it. There's a kind of mercy in letting our worst moments be useful to someone else's better ones. On our 43rd anniversary, the kids threw us a backyard party. String lights, a guitar, the neighbors bringing sides like love disguised as macaronis. Claire handed me a gift, a scarf, green as the first whisper of spring. "I thought you'd look beautiful in this, Mum." I wrapped it around my shoulders. Ben's eyes filled the way they sometimes do now, unembarrassed. He reached for my hand with that old practiced tenderness and squeezed like he was checking a pulse. We danced a little, slow and offbeat, the way people who have learned to keep time with each other's flaws do. Later, when the house was quiet and the dishwasher hummed and the string lights clicked off one by one, Ben said, "I know I can't make it right the way it should have been right. But I can make it right now, and right tomorrow, and right again the day after. If you let me." "I'm letting you," I said. "One day at a time." He smiled, and this is the part I want you to hear if you're hurting. My heart did not forget what had happened. It simply chose to also remember what had not. We had not given up on us. We had not turned each other into the worst thing we had done. We had not stopped trying to be better than the easy story. There's a picture on our mantle from that night. Ben has crow's feet deep enough to store secrets. And I've got the neck of a woman who has lived in the sun and refuses to regret it. The green scarf drapes over my shoulder like an inside joke no one else is invited to get. When people come over, they point at the photo and say, "You two look happy." We are. Not because nothing bad ever grew in our garden, because we pulled the weeds together and planted again. Before you go, if this story met you somewhere true, tell me what you'd have done with the letters. Burn them, keep them, mail them back to the past with no return address. I'll be here, reading. It helps, somehow, to know what other hands would do. And if you're carrying something heavy tonight, something you found in a tackle box or a sock drawer, or the pocket of a coat you were just trying to clean. Know this. There is a future that isn't acid. It will not look like the past you thought you had. It might look like sunflowers on a kitchen table, coffee poured the way you like it, and a hand that knows your hand even after everything. It might look like you, still here, telling your story out loud so someone else can breathe.